love everything football? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin.
Do you like everything football, Colin?
Of course you know I do.
Fantastic. Welcome to Beyond the Touchline, people. I hope everyone is well. I hope you are excited for Christmas. I do apologise we are a day late, but the missus got the Star Wars bug, so we have to go to the cinema to watch it. No spoilers coming from here, by the way. So yeah, just check it out. Decent movie. But yeah, on to the sport we know and love. Now we are a day late, Colin, but that kind of works out quite well because there's been, we don't know if it's confirmed yet, but a lot of news going around just before we come on that Van Gaal is going to be losing his job.
Yeah, Ryan and I were bouncing notes back and forth today. That there's lots of buzz. I think we've seen BBC, Sky Sports had some notes on it. I can't find anything that confirms, but there's a lot of rumors that he's been sacked already.
I know Ryan's obviously excited because he's not. You're not the biggest fan, Ryan, of Van Gaal's style of play.
No, I thought he was going to come in and play a little bit differently, but it's very rigid. And we need a bit of a change, but I don't think he has been sacked. From what I read on Trevor Sinclair's Twitter account, who's apparently linked to the BBC, apparently he left his phone on the table at a Christmas party and someone decided to go on his Twitter and start tweeting, and that's how Twitter has blown up and all this has come out apparently.
I think, there's call for it from the fans. I mean, losing to Norwich, not the best team, especially with Cam and Jerome up front. No disrespect, but he's crap. Yeah,
definitely. There's call for it, and I don't seen it when Thierry Henry was tearing into how they've got Martial playing against Norwich, where he was just stuck out wide and not in the position. They compared Martial and Henry. He literally did a comparison of Martial and Henry, how he used to play on the wings when he was an inside forward, as you could say, and it was completely different. Martial just stands out there. What's he doing? Standing by the corner flag when you're forward. Henry, who used to play out on the wing and cut inside to get the goals. It's not happening.
Well, I think we... Sorry, I keep hitting the table. Moved to a new desk and I can't get used to it. I think we spoke about it in the group chat we've got on Facebook, and we were talking about the Man United Norwich game. And among the laughing towards you and Ben, Ryan, we actually did mention the fact that the likes of Depay and, as you say, Martial, who by the way I didn't even know was playing for half the game, they seem forced to cross the ball because they will get one-on-one with a player and they never attempt to go past. It's always just a cross into the box. Now, I'm sure you remember, Ryan, Martial broke onto the scenes. Now, do you think after the game Van Gaal went, how dare you try to go past people? Don't do that again.
It does appear like he has done that, and he's bunged him out on the wings, which, yeah, he's played there for Monaco, but he scored in his few games, and then Van Gaal's bunged him out on the wings, and it's not worked. He needs to be playing in a position where he's comfortable and free to do what he can do, because it shows he can score. He scored the goal against Norwich, but he's not done a lot since he broke onto the scene when he signed. And not since then. I know he scored the goal, but it's not enough, is it? Goals are coming from few and far between chances. It needs to change.
Now, there's a lot of people linked with the Man United job. I think a lot of people would like to see Jose there. Myself personally, I think it would be interesting to see how he does because of I don't say his attitude, but like his persona. You just kind of think the people behind the scenes, Charlton, Ferguson, are they going to ask him to tone it down if he did come in, do you think?
See, it's interesting for me because if Mourinho comes in, there's potential that issues with Mata could arise. Could he end up leaving? If Pep Guardiola comes in, apparently he's high maintenance. Are Man United going to be able to deal with that? There's two managers that are obviously tipped up there to take charge. Giggs could take over till the end of the season, then we wait for Pep Guardiola. It's very interesting. I'd like to see either of them there and see what they could do.
I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, I know Ryan Giggs has obviously been touted as a future manager. Personally, I think it's maybe a bit too soon for him, but then on the other hand, I would like to see maybe him given the chance and him to be told you have a few years leeway, so if it takes your season to kind of settle, don't worry, we're not going to just throw you out. But then I noticed Gary Neville was above Giggs now in the bookies, but I mean he's still to win a game with Valencia, and they drew 2-2 with Getafe at the weekend, so they're not exactly lighting the world up since he took over. So
and they were damn lucky to get out of that Getafe game there at 2-2.
You tell him, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, Neville hasn't had the greatest start at Valencia. I think people still think that he's betting down and that his time, that things will turn around after the holiday break. Maybe not. But I thought it was interesting. I was listening to an interesting commentary this morning, right? So I think there's a couple of things with this whole Van Gaal situation that I find really interesting. One, Van Gaal is probably going to be the first manager to odds on basically be fired over style, right? I mean, okay, you can say, yeah, United's on a poor run of form. They're still, fourth in the league? So you can't really complain and say, well, you're not there. They're in a Champions League spot. They're on, 29 points, so they're 6 points behind Leicester at the top. They've got good goal oddly enough, they've got good goal differential. So he's basically in a situation where he's going to be fired for style. Now people are saying, okay, Jose is the one to come in. If you're going back and pay attention to any time and anywhere Mourinho's coached, he's always criticized for style, for the rigidity, for, this is how it's done. Is that really going to play well with the United faithful if he goes out and, parks the bus? So I think, I think it's an interesting situation. I don't think Pep fits in very well, at least with the backroom stuff coming out of Bayern Munich on how high maintenance he is. I would be interested in the same way. I think if Giggs, I think he's good enough to do it. I think obviously his time with Ferguson and the coaching staff that was there during that one has got to have rubbed off. I think I'd say pull the trigger now before Van Gaal's influence really kicks in over and he starts to doubt ideas, methods, philosophies too deeply on that side of it. But I think Giggs would be a better project for United. And I agree. I think it would be incredibly important for the back room at United to go out and say, look, this is a 4-year, 5-year project. We're behind you. We're going to do this, and we're not going to, at the first hint of form dipping off or some issue, we're going to throw you out. We're interested in another legacy level, so we'll give you the time and energy to do it.
Creating a legacy. Quick plug there, Colin.
There you go.
I mean, one thing that I think would interest me is, no disrespect to Chelsea, but they were a decent side, but money has took them to the top. And they don't really have a fierce rivalry which is talked about week in, week out. Where you've got Manchester United versus a club who was bought the way to the top, Manchester City. And in my personal opinion, that is a more fierce derby than anything Chelsea have. Then you also have Manchester United versus Liverpool. So my question to Ryan is, do you think we're going to see Mourinho, if he comes in, doing any eye gouging after his time at Madrid trying to do it? I think it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the pressure, basically.
Yeah, I think he'll try and build even more rivalries. If he takes charge of Man United, he may try and Man United Chelsea rivalry, which is there because you've always got rivalry with the top teams, no matter what. There's always rivalry there. But could there be more of a chance to get more rivals if Mourinho comes in? If he comes in and we play Chelsea, but it's going to be in heightened because Mourinho, he practically is Chelsea through and through. He's just lost his job and not there anymore. He'll still have Chelsea in his heart, no doubt about that. Comes in, we play Chelsea, there's going to be possibly boos from some Chelsea fans, possibly celebrations that he shouldn't have been sacked. It'd be interesting to see if he comes in and we end up playing Chelsea not long after, I don't think.
Colin, what I want to ask you about Jose is, Chelsea won 3-1 at the weekend against Sunderland. It's nothing to be proud of, really, is it? Sunderland are dreadful.
I think if you and I picked up 9 friends, we could go out and probably do a number on Sunderland at this point.
Wish I'd 9 friends. Ryan, do you want to come?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's 3 of us.
Yep. We still probably put up a decent fight.
We'll still win. The Chelsea players were dreadful, and we've said so many times, Matic this season has just been running up the pitch. They're not holding any shape like they've done in the past. There's nobody playing that Makelele role because Matic genuinely thinks he's some sort of freaking Hazard when he gets the ball this season, which he never really did last season. And then you've got Cesc alongside him, who genuinely makes me look like I can tackle. There's nobody playing that defensive midfield role as a Makelele, which is what Jose is almost famous for. Somebody sitting in front of the defence, protecting the defence, making them hard to beat. So what I want to ask you is that tactical? Is that the players? Is that Jose? And in general, Colin, do you think Jose should have been fired?
So, obviously I'm not on the inside with it, but I genuinely don't.
I thought you were.
I make it seem like it some days.
Okay.
I genuinely don't. I don't think this was his fault. I think, whether it's the players just gave up on the philosophy, too many big guys that want to do what they want to do. I think that for the rest of this season, you're going to see Chelsea involved in a relegation scrap. Beating Sunderland is not an indicator to me. Like I said, we could probably figure out how to put a team together that'll give them a run for their money. Just the same as going out and beating Villa is not exactly an indicator of anything other than you showed up that day. So I don't think it's a very good. I don't think it's a very good note. I agree. I think the system that they played last year was a lot more disciplined, and Mourinho overall is a lot more disciplined. And because of that, the teams are defensively strong. They're not going to, they do have offensive talent, but they're not a team that, it's not like a United in its heyday where they're going to go out and put 6 goals past you. And yeah, maybe it's a 6-3 game, but you're going to get a lot of flair and there's going to be a lot of attacking. And they know that on any given night, they're going to put a ton past you. They've always been a team that's, they're in that, 1-0 to the to the title type team, and they've clearly, I think you've hit it spot on. The guys that were critical in the system to make that work have decided that they want to go win a golden boot or whatever, and are flying upfield all over the place, and it's just insane, all over.
It's it's an interesting discussion about Chelsea's tactics this season. Ryan, I wanted to actually go back to you and go back to United and again back to Van Gaal to an extent. When I think back at United and them glory days, obviously Colin old enough to remember them, Ryan. You just kind of saw a team who won trophies and picked them.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, glory spotter. I'm only joking. Glory spotter. But United, they always got spoke about as being that team with flair and stuff. But that's not how I remember United. I remember United with you had Roy Keane and then you had Paul Scholes who couldn't tackle for shit. He basically just destroyed you. And then I remember United as that team who played 4-4-2. You had York, you had Cole, you had Solskjaer, you had Sheringham. They used to be so solid at that formation, and then they used to just hit you on the counter. And to an extent, Van Gaal has took United back to be very solid, then try to counter. But then it seems they're passing sideways all the time. I genuinely don't think you're so far away from kind of not creating the same type of thing, but do you know what I mean? Where United weren't special to watch because of how they were playing. Oh yeah, Ryan. They weren't special to watch over the years because of the tick-attacker. They weren't special to watch over the years because of all these amazing talents at the back and in the defensive midfield, like you have at Barcelona now where they pass it out. United was solid as a rock. You gave it to Beckham, he would play that quick cross, the strikers running. You gave it to Giggs, he would bomb down the wing. You gave it to Scholes, he would run in late when Beckham's cross is defended well, it's knocked to the edge of the box, Scholes was following in. If it's knocked to the edge of the box, Scholes misses it, you were destroyed by Keane. That's how I remember United. I don't know about yourself, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, my best memory of United is at any point in time, there were 11 guys out there that were going to work their ass off for 90 minutes, out there. They're, like you said, they were always moving. And yeah, I agree. This wasn't Guardiola's Barcelona or, a Bayern or the Galacticos by any stretch of the imagination. But it was 11 really solid, high-performing people that no matter what situation transpired, there was always somebody who knew what their job was that was just working. It was amazing work rate. It was fantastic determination. It was brilliant teamwork. It was well-structured and, well-defined. And, on any given day, you knew, like you said, you knew Beckham was coming in with the cross or Giggs was bombing down. But they were so good at what they did that it didn't matter that you knew what they were going to do. You couldn't stop it anyway.
No, I mean, Ryan, are you back? He's not.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. What I wanted to ask you, Ryan, is when you look back and you think of the likes of Keane, Nicky Butt in the Champions League final, for example, outstanding. Then you have the likes of Paul Scholes. I mean, when you look at Schweinsteiger and Schneidlin, I mean, honestly, Roy Keane and Paul Scholes would snap them in half. Do you know what I mean, though? I mean, it's just
Keane and Scholes was a mid, and
I mean, Paul Scholes was so creative, and all throughout his career, people used to say he couldn't tackle. He could tackle because he knew what he was doing. If you got the ball past him, you weren't going past him.
I forget who it was. A quote that somebody was saying, why they didn't like tackling, and they said, I don't want to tackle because if I'm tackling, that means I screwed up and I was in the wrong place. That it's all about the interception and being in the right place and knowing where to be. Yeah. I agree. I think Keane and Scholes was a bone crunching midfield that Schweinsteiger, he at this point, he's a glass diva. He's not going to get into that level of physicality. His body isn't going to handle it. He's out there for, he's good for what? 65 minutes most weeks, 70 minutes most weeks. That's, a midfielder that's not going to be able to put 90 minutes in isn't going to go in there and punish people in the midfield. That's just not who he is.
No. I mean, but I think the question I want to ask Ryan is about Michael Carrick. Now, I know he's getting on, Ryan, but I don't understand, has he fell out with the manager? Because when he comes on, he seems to be the one who wants to pass the ball forward. Then the next game, he's on the bench again.
See, I'm in agreement with you there. Every time I see Carrick on the ball, he's the one that will try and play the ball forward, but then he's playing the ball forward and no one's there, and he ends up giving it away, which is the frustrating thing. And he's playing those balls that we've known him for since he joined United. The balls that he used to play when Ferguson was there, even when Moyes was there. It's coming to Van Gaal and he's trying to do exactly the same thing, and there's nobody in behind. It's frustrating, so frustrating, because he is a brilliant player and can play some fantastic balls through defences, but the balls that he's trying to play just aren't working this season because no one's up there to receive them.
Yeah, I mean, last point on United, Ryan. I want to go back to yourself for this. Is it's again going to the midfield. And I don't want to keep reverting back to the famous the likes of Keane and stuff, but you've got to, because you've got to say, well, look, this wasn't that long ago, and the idea is when a player retires, you try to replicate him, and it just appears they've got Schneiderlin is decent on the ball. He's a really good footballer. Schweinsteiger again. You never really talked about Roy Keane on the ball. He was a good player on the ball, but going into every game, the question was who's he going to destroy. So the question I want to ask you, Ryan, is: do you think someone like Phil Jones should be moved into that role because he is an out-and-out defender?
So this is another issue we have with Phil Jones. Where is his best position? Is his best position playing at centre-back? Is his best position playing in the centre midfield? And just to come into what everybody's saying that he could be and just become a Duncan Edwards-like player that would just smash people up in the air and be a brick wall that no one can go through.
I'm genuinely frustrated about, in general, and the reason behind this is people know I live in Norway, and it's so frustrating when European nights come around. I mean, Molde were playing Sevilla in the Europa Cup last 32. It's something to look forward to, but we all know what the result's going to be, no doubt. And now it appears the Premier League, which I enjoy watching, when they go into European nights, I mean, are they going to make it out the group was the talk a couple of weeks ago. Now it's, are they going to get through the next round? And it's frustrating. We shouldn't be talking about this. We should be talking about the likes of United and great nights at Old Trafford. The nights at even Chelsea. There's been some good nights there. Arsenal, again, a team who, I mean, Arsenal they've done the victory, haven't they? Last night over Manchester City, beating them 2-1. But then they're gonna come out next game and they're gonna lose because it just happens every freaking time. Sorry, Arsenal fans, but he's like a bloody yo-yo.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think I'm excited for Arsenal-Barcelona. I think there's a lot of potential there for an epic level marquee matchup. But to me, it's almost criminal that we're talking about Man United in the round of 32 in the Europa League going, well, it's a tough draw. We're not really sure they're playing well enough that they're going to get through. To me, that's, as a football fan, right, that's criminal to me. That you're talking about one of the greatest franchises in the history of the game struggling in a competition they shouldn't, I'm okay if they're in the Champions League and they get bumped because, it's an epic level match with a PSG, a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, something like that. I think it's depressing as sin talking about okay, I don't want to diminish the Europa League. There's a lot of very good teams going in there, but it's not, it's not the same.
I'm a big fan of the Europa League, and I will be following
I think there's
likes of Molde in it.
I think there's some absolutely fantastic teams, and there's some just brilliant matchups. But to me, there are a handful of clubs that are above that competition, and Man United has always been one of those clubs and needs to be one of those clubs that's just above that competition.
Do you know what the issue with the Europa League is? It's on a Thursday night, and the issue with that is no one likes a Thursday because you've got to go back to work the next day, even though you already started to wind down for the weekend.
Right.
So the Europa League comes around, people are just like, I just want the weekend, I just want the Premier League. I mean, here's a question. The question of the day, stolen from second yellow card, this event. Mm-hmm. The question goes to yourself, Colin, first, and after your answer we'll go to Ryan. Should the Champions League and Europa League be played on a Saturday and Sunday?
I'm going to say no. What I do think that they should do, and I understand why they don't do it this way because the TV money is too big, I think that the Champions League should play everything in 2 blocks on Tuesday, and the Europa League should play everything in 2 blocks on Wednesday.
That's a decent idea as well. What about yourself, Ryan?
I was just thinking exactly the same as Colin. The TV money will not allow it to be played at a weekend, but exactly as Colin said, 2 blocks, it would work. But the TV money will just overtake it, and it won't move.
Screw you all then. I'm just going to run down some of the other results now. I just want to pick out a couple. So you've got Everton 2, Leicester 3. You've got Southampton 0, Tottenham 2, Stoke 1, Palace 2. Really can't wait for Pardew to start failing. I'm sick of seeing bloody people praising him. West Brom 1, Bournemouth 2, and Newcastle 1, Aston Villa 1. The Newcastle game I actually want to go on to first. Fantastic goal by Aston Villa, fair play to them, but we should have won it. It's so frustrating. We beat some teams. I actually said to people before the weekend, I said we're going to slip up, and people said why. I said because we've been so good. This is the type of game now where we expected to win. And I don't know about yourself, Colin, but when we actually talked about as favourites for a game, we done. The players we've got don't have the mentality to turn teams over like this.
I thought they came out in the first half and looked like a team that wanted to wreck Aston Villa. I thought it was a dynamite first half. They came out with the same energy and enthusiasm they had the past couple of weeks. They looked good. They were moving the ball well. They were threatening. They really, finishing cost it. It really should have been a couple of goals. That being said, when they came out in the second half, it was like they all got into the bus and said, you know what? I think we're done. We put in 45 good minutes. It's a long ride home. No sense putting in the other 45. And Villa walked all over them. I think to be totally fair, I think that we were lucky to get out of there with the point. All things considered, Villa looked really good in the second half. They woke up. They played hard. That being said, it's not hard to come out and get up for it when you're losing. And Villa's done this a couple of times this season. So it was a tale of two halves for me. It was sad. I really want to see Newcastle stay up for 90 minutes for games that they should win, as opposed, it's not hard to get up and want to go bloody Liverpool's nose or a Chelsea's nose or a Man United's nose. It's really hard to want to go out there and bloody, Aston Villa. At that point, you're just, adding gas to an already out of control fire. But those are the games that if you want to stay up, you've got to go out and get the 3 points from.
Yeah. Another team that just mentioned is the fact that Bournemouth have done 3 back-to-back victories now. Back-to-back. There we go. Turning West Brom over. Now Tony Pulis will be turning in his sleep at conceding 2 goals. Now, there was 2 red cards in the game. First off was McLean, who... I can see why he was obviously annoyed. He chased the player back. To be fair, the tackle on him I didn't think was that bad. Then McLean obviously goes through somebody. Was it a red card? I genuinely don't think so. Genuinely think it was just it was a stupid tackle. I think we all see that. And I know the guys come out, I can't remember, I think it was Smith? He come out and said, he could have broke my leg. Shut up. Bloody, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think the key to those situations is don't put yourself in a spot like that where you're forcing the official to make a judgment call, right? Because then it's not in your hands anymore. So, yeah, it was a stupid tackle. Was it really a red card? I think you can argue either way. I'm with you. I would say, it was stupid. It wasn't a red. But in the heat of the moment, at the speed that game moves, you've now put the official in a place where he sees you go in reckless and dumb, and he's going to go, okay, right. Best I saw, that's a straight red. And now now you've put yourself in a stupid spot because, if it's a really dumb tackle, you're potentially looking at multiple games that you're sitting on the sidelines, and you've now crippled your team. You've crippled your team for the rest of the game. It's it's one of those where it's like, guys, be smart, keep your head on it, don't put yourself in a stupid spot.
And that's what Coach Colin tells you. And then at the end of the game, Rondon got sent off. He just lost his head for a few minutes, knees up, pushing back some forward. It's like handbags, isn't it, now on the pitch? The only time you see fists flying is when Newcastle players piss each other off. It is handbags now, isn't it? They push their heads to each other and get sent off the pitch for it. You watch back at highlights from years ago and they used to literally lay each other out.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that it's down to the clubs. It's down to the clubs to say, and it's exactly what you said, don't put yourself in the situation. It's just petty, it's stupid. I mean, if it's a bad tackle, turn around, just say, what are you doing? If then there's a bit of back chat, just say, we'll talk in the tunnel. There's no reason to square up to each other. You just know you aren't going to do anything because you might break a nail. So just discuss it in the tunnel and sort it out properly instead of pushing into each other. It's embarrassing. It's as bad as watching that Spanish crap where in La Liga when they drop around like fairies every time they get breathed on. It's just stupid. It's grown men pushing their head into each other as if they like lost teenagers. And Ryan, you probably see that at your school. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, I had a game where I refereed, and I think tackles were a lot worse than what we see in the Spanish football. I had to tell a few players to calm down. So you get the scraps in school football. It's fun to see.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Good teacher. It's fun to see. The last game I want to mention is Everton 2, Leicester 3. This was the first game I actually thought Leicester would slip up. And they still win, Colin.
It's
crazy.
It's a fantastic thing. So I forget where I was watching or listening, and it was a dimension I didn't think about. So here's my question of the day.
Ooh.
Do you think Leicester's able to hold on to Vardy and the guy's name's escaping me. Mahrez in the January transfer window, or do you think a City, United, some other big club comes in and tries to poach them?
Financially, they can hold on to him because they have very wealthy owners, and they will be dreaming of the Champions League, which is obviously going to then justify not selling them financially and game night wise. But it all depends on the mental state of the player. If the player wants to leave, we all know the power of players now, and Mahrez never comes out, so we have no idea if he could be swayed. Vardy, I genuinely think he would stay due to the respect he has for Leicester giving him the chance, unless somebody like Real Madrid came in. But I don't think he'll go to another club in England. What about yourself, Ryan?
I'm in agreement with you. It's power of players.
Copy.
So we'll have to just see what happens. I think he may leave, and I think he will go to a club in England because he'll be swayed by the opportunity of big and brighter lights.
Someone turns up with a torch. Come on, sign for us. Oh my God, he's got a torch and it's as bright as 1,000 candles. Right, the next team, I genuinely have to say that I was so wrong at the start of the season. This is the last Premier League game we're going to talk about. It was Watford 3, Liverpool 0. And I think I predicted Watford to go down. I predicted Troy Deeney to just be a waste of space, which he was at the start, to be honest. And I don't care if people want to argue. He was a waste of space at the start of the season because he wasn't doing what he's doing now. He grew into the Premier League. I think the first few games his passing wasn't what it is now, and he was having them shots where now it's just unbelievable to watch, Colin. It's
that strike partnership is one of the best out there right now.
I don't even want to talk about how bad Liverpool were because it's genuinely how good Watford were.
Agreed. I mean, yeah, Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool was any better or worse than they had been on any other night. But that strike partnership at Watford is really starting to click. Do they keep this up and finish in the upper part of the table? I'm not sure. It's tough to say. I was with you. I had them down at the bottom. I don't think I had them relegated, but I had them down in the low. I had them scrapping it out. All things considered, they're on 27 points or something like that. So 13 to sort of the magic safety zone. Going into the busy season. I think this is now where clubs rise and fall, right? In the next 2 weeks, there's a ton of games. You've got cup competitions. FA Cup third round stuff is coming in. The physicality, the fitness, the intensity of the Premier League and what it is now going to start to take hold. And I think now is when mid to end of January, I think, is where you're going to see teams. If Watford's still 7th, 8th, at that point, I think they finish there. This is the make or break point in the season. But to be fair, I agree with you. I thought they were going to be a lot worse off coming in. They took some time to gel and get used to it, but they are playing incredibly well.
Yeah. I think the next thing I want to talk about, Colin, is something you posted in our chat just before we went live, which is it absolutely shocked me. American international has gone to play in Mexico, and it is a player I genuinely thought was a key player for the squad, and the squad is LA Galaxy.
Ah, that is right. Yes, the LA Galaxy announced today that U.S. men's national and LA Galaxy center back Omar Gonzalez has successfully completed. I think the fee they said was 1.2 or 1.4 million dollar transfer to Liga MX side Pachuca. It's a great club to go to. So if you don't follow Liga MX, Pachuca is one of the big boys in Liga MX. This is the first. I think this is the first serious casualty of the super club in MLS. So last year, they introduced the targeted allocation money to help offset salaries from designated players to put them underneath the line. The Galaxy used all 5 years worth of money they were given in one shot to get Omar underneath it. Can you explain that? You're saying the LA Galaxy had a fund which is a five-year fund, or they used 5 years of the fund to just get his wage below the wage cap, so to make sure he could play as well as the other designated players? Right. So MLS, the basic rule is 3 designated players. In the latest collective bargaining agreement, what MLS agreed to is they were going to give each team, I think it's $125,000 or $150,000 per year for 5 years. They gave them to them in a lump sum and said, you can use it, over 5 years. You can use it at once, however you want to use it, but here's 5 years worth of this fund. And what you could do is you could use it to offset the salary of a designated player to bring it below the designated player mark. So right now, I think that mark is like $426,000 a year is the salary. So if you had, like, Omar was making, let's say, he was making like he was making $900,000 a year. So what the LA Galaxy did was they used all $600,000 that they were given, or in the targeted allocation money, so that his effective salary last year was below the 425 or 426 mark, which then allowed them to have Robbie Keane, who's a designated player, Steven Gerrard, who's a designated player, and then they could bring in Giovanni Dos Santos as a designated player. Now the issue is they don't have that money, which means they have a 4th designated player on the books, which MLS says you explicitly cannot have. So they were going to have to get rid of one. I'm with you. I'm surprised. To be totally honest, if it was my money, I'd have dumped Gerrard. He played poorly. He was only here.
Give him time.
He was only here for half a season, but I think he played poorly. There's elements and aspects of it that I don't think he adjusted to, and I don't think he's going to adjust well to. You could see even later in the season things like, two-way play. He just drifted up forward. He wasn't tracking back, playing. Guys like Keane, were giving it their all. But given how much Omar meant to that team in their championship runs, and how much he and AJ De La Garza were the absolute rock of that back four, this is a huge move. From a men's, from a U.S. national perspective, I think it's good. Omar needs to develop some more. I'm not necessarily convinced he was going to reach that next level with the Galaxy without the rest of the league sort of stepping up a little bit. So I think moving to Liga MX is going to be, it's going to be better for his development as a national team player. So I'm excited in that respect. I think for me, it's going to, I follow Liga MX a bit. I think I'm going to have to pay a little more attention now that there's a few more nationals down there playing. So I think it's good in that respect. But I suspect the LA Galaxy are going to have a much more difficult and rougher season this year.
I think the next topic I want to just talk to you about is something that I was reading earlier, and it genuinely shocked me to the extent where I thought it was a lie. Diego Forlan has refused to rule out a move to the MLS.
So that's an interesting story. So they were talking about it on a big MLS show this morning. So the joke with that is Diego Forlan wants to come to MLS. The problem that they found right now is nobody in MLS wants him.
He's about 90, and
36.
Last time I saw him play, there's no way he will keep up with the pace of the MLS.
No, and I think you're seeing the era of those players coming to MLS ending. You watched what happened to Pirlo this year. It happened to Lampard to a certain extent. Gerrard. It happened to half the designated players that have come into Chicago. It's a different game. You can't send guys who are past their prime here where they, put their feet up and enjoy a few years and then go quietly into the sunset making obscene amounts of money because the teams are trying to sell jerseys. The homegrown academies, the talent going on in the league, the quality of players in their prime playing at the national level. Okay, so, not all these guys are playing at, European international levels, but you've got internationals from all over the CONCACAF region and some of the smaller CONMEBOL nations in there. This is a much, much better league than it was. And a guy coming in at 36, 37, he's going to get run over.
I think just to end tonight's show, I want to hop back over to Europe, so get on the aeroplane, Colin. We're going to talk about Ancelotti is going to be going to Bayern Munich at the end of the season when Pep leaves. I actually like that deal because Ancelotti comes across as such a nice bloke, and he went to Chelsea, did nothing wrong, got shafted. Went to Real Madrid, did very little wrong, got shafted. And I genuinely think, fantastic. I hope he goes there, wins some titles, wins the Champions League, and just has a good time, basically. But one of the stipulations he said was Lewandowski was not allowed to leave. Now, that is because he's been linked with Real Madrid. That is a deal I would like to actually see. Because Real Madrid are missing that killer striker, because Benzema is not that killer striker. So I don't know what your thoughts on Ancelotti, on Bayern in general, and Lewandowski leaving to Real Madrid are.
So I'll have to say, as any squad that puts 10 goals past anybody isn't really hurting in a striker department. Lewandowski to Real, I could see. I think there's lots of reasons to want to put space between yourself and Benzema right now. Both on the field and off the field. So I can see going for an alternative. There is definitely viable from Real's perspective, and if money is no object, Lewandowski would be a great pickup. He's had an amazing season in the Bundesliga. My take, I like Ancelotti. I liked him a lot at Real Madrid. I think he's made a great career of being able to manage high-profile personalities and players. I think he's going to do well there. I think it's a club that's built for, continuous success. I think he'll manage the Xabi Alonsos, the Thomas Mullers, the Douglas Costas, those types of personalities, those high-level, individual practitioners, and keep them sort of functioning as a well-oiled machine. I suspect that there's going to be some Champions League titles with Carlo. My general feel on Bayern, so my Bundesliga leanings is I'm more of a Dortmund fan than I am a Bayern Munich fan. I do wish that the league tightens up a little bit. For me, they're doing better than they have in the past couple of years, and it is tighter. But like the phenomenon going on in France right now, it's the league's a snooze fest. Bayern going out and being 8, 10, 12, 15 points ahead, late January, early February, to me, diminishes the quality and caliber of the league. I want to see good races at the top and good races at the bottom. I don't want to watch, grueling the most interesting things your league produces shouldn't be badass mid-table battles and, the relegation fights. There needs to be fights at the top. So I think, the German FA, the Bundesliga, the Wolfsburgs, the Gladbachs, the Dortmunds need to get their act together and figure out how to challenge Bayern. I don't, to me, it's not a fault of Bayern. Hey, they figured out how to do it. They're making money. They're putting it in the club. They're doing what they do. I think it's up to everybody else to raise the level of their game. And I hope, I know Carlo's going to go in. He's been successful wherever he's been. I think he'll continue to be successful. I just hope the rest of the league rises to meet that challenge.
Definitely something to look forward to. Well, unfortunately, Ryan's had to leave us. Joys have been away from university. He's just had some internet issues. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, Colin, as always, sir.
Always glad to be here.
And as always, I have not cut down the music yet, so I'm going to keep playing until randomly I stop talking when the outro kicks in. So, I'm still talking slowly.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin. We'll catch you next time.